Hey everyone, and welcome to another NCD Node-RED tutorial. Today we're going to be working with the MCP23008. We've done several tutorials on this particular module before, so if you haven't checked those out already, I highly recommend that you follow the link in the description if you're on YouTube over to our main article page where you can see all the other MCP23008 tutorials for Node-RED. So up until this point, we have turned stuff on and off. We've learned about using some of the additional GPIO channels as inputs. And we've done a little bit of some light automation where we hit an input and that triggers a relay for a timer. Most everything we've done to this point has been really simple as far as control goes. We're just using the inject node here in Node-RED to send commands to this node, to our MCP23008 node. So I thought it might be fun in this tutorial to put together something a little more elegant as far as the UI is concerned. Now today I'm going to be using one of our 4-channel IoT interface relay controllers, and you can check out our full offering of products at store.ncd.io. You can come over here and go to Shop All Products and then go to Relay Controllers. And then click on NCD IoT Devices. And you can see a whole lot of products here that are based on the MCP23008 chip. So all these boards to this point, these larger channel boards, those are going to be based on the MCP23008. 017, which we'll have support for in Node-RED later. But there's a lot of different boards here. The particular board I'm using today is this one right here. It's a 4-channel relay controller with an IoT interface. I've got that connected to my computer using a USB to I2C converter, which plugs right into this socket here. And then that's just plugged in USB to my Mac, which is running Node-RED. Of course, you could run Node-RED on a Raspberry Pi and do it that way instead. We have interface adapters that allow you to connect a Raspberry Pi to this same board. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So I've already covered the MCP23008 node in our introduction tutorial to the MCP23008. So if you haven't already checked that out, I recommend going and doing that before you go too much further here. I've already got it set up here. I've got the first 4 channels set as outputs because this is a 4-channel relay board. Now I've got the last 4 channels set as inputs, so I connect buttons or motion detectors or anything that generates a dry contact closure can connect to those channels. So let's get into this. So there's a really cool node package for Node-RED called Dashboard. So to install that, you'd click on your little hamburger menu up here, and you go to Manage Palette. And then click on Install and search for Node-RED-Dashboard. And here you'll see it right here, Node-RED-Dashboard. Just click that Install button that'll appear right here. Mine shows it's already installed because I've already installed it. But go ahead and install that. Once you've got that installed, you're going to see a new section show up in your palette over here called Dashboard. And it's going to have all these different nodes here. So the first thing I want is a switch to turn my relays on and off. So I'm simply going to drag one of those over here, double click on it, and get into editing. So we need to add this switch to a group. So Dashboard will actually group your different UI elements in subgroups. So let's create a group, and we're going to name this group My Relay Controller. And we're going to put it on the tab Relay Controller. You probably don't have a tab already. You'll have to click here and come in here and enter a name for your tab. So after you would do that, you would enter this information here and click Done. And then enter the information here for your group. And you're ready to go. So we're going to give the switch a label, and this is what you're actually going to see on the UI. So I'm going to call this Relay 1. And for payload, for on and off payload, I'm going to set those both to JSON. And for an on, I'm going to send a 1, and for off, I'm going to send a 0. The topic I'm going to send that to is channel_1, because we want to talk to relay 1, which is controlled under topic channel 1. And then the name field here, this just shows you on the Node-RED editing interface, gives it a name there. So we'll say relay 1 switch. Okay, and that's all that we need to do there. So we can take that and bring it up here and connect it in. And that's going to give us a switch that turns relay 1 on and off. So now we just need to do the exact same thing for the remaining 3 relays on the board. And there we go. So we got all 4 of our relay switches. So let's go ahead and click deploy here. And then to look at the dashboard we just created, we'll click on dashboard. And then we'll click this little link here that'll actually take us to the dashboard. And here we'll see we've got 4 switches labeled for each of the relays. And if we click them, we'll hear the relays click. Pretty cool. That looks, and it looks nice. That's a nice looking UI. It's a lot nicer than inject nodes on the Node-RED editing page. So let's come back here and let's talk about some other stuff we can do. Well, we've taken care of the 4 inputs, or the 4 relay outputs, but let's talk about the inputs now. The inputs are connected to channels GPIO 5, 6, 7, and 8. I've actually got a button connected to GPIO 5, so let's take a look at what we can do with this. Now this is going to output a 1 or a 0 depending on whether the button is pressed or not pressed. If the button is pressed, I'll get a 1 that comes out of this. If the button is released, I'll get a 0. So what I want to do is I want to convert that into some more human-friendly, readable text. So for that, I'm going to bring in a change node. So right there, we're going to bring that in. And what we're going to do here, we'll enter a name, GPIO 5. And what we want to do is we want to call change. And we're going to search for the number 1. And if we get a 1, then we want to say input closed. Okay? So if we get a 1, we're going to change that to input closed as the message payload. So now let's add another one. And this is going to be a change. And if we see a number 0, then we're going to replace that with input open. Makes sense. That's pretty simple there. So we're going to come out of that into this. And now what do we want to do with that new information we just had come out? Well, maybe we want to display it as text on our UI. So for the text, there's really not a whole lot that we need to do here. I might give it a name like GPIO 5 text. But this is just going to display the payload that comes in. So click done there. We'll go ahead and link it up. Alright, and let's deploy that. Now we can head back over to our dashboard and we'll see we have a text field. And we've got input open, input closed. So if I release the button, it's open. If I push it, it's closed. Pretty simple. Now let's do something with this label here that just says text. Let's pretty that up a little bit. We'll call that input 1. Done. Deploy. You've got to love how quick and easy that Node-RED is to do some really cool stuff like this. Okay, so we've got the input working there. Let's do something else. Maybe let's pop a notification up on our screen that lets us know that, hey, somebody just hit the button. So what we want to do here is basically just enter in a name for this node, GPIO 5 Notify. Done. And let's hook that up and deploy it. So we'll head back over to our dashboard and we'll push the button. And we see we got a little notification in the upper right hand corner there that let us know that channel 5 is input closed or input open. Pretty cool. Alright, what else can we do? Well, this little audio notifier is fun to play with. Can hook this up here. Take a look at this, and we need to select a voice. I prefer Fred myself, and we'll let's just not mess with entering a name here. And we'll hit deploy, and we'll head back over and hit the button.
Input closed. Input open.
And there you go. You got a voice notification that the input closed or opened. So that's pretty cool. We've created a little UI, and it took us what, 5 minutes maybe, and that's with me explaining it. It's just really amazing what you can do with Node-RED. Now, where I think Node-RED really shines, or where this dashboard node really shines, is on a phone. You can see here on the web interface, it kind of needs a little bit of styling. It looks like it's made for a phone. So let's take a look at that real quick. All we need to know, my Mac is running Node-RED. So it is basically with dashboard, it's serving a web interface. It's acting as a web server. So on my smartphone, all I need to do is enter in the IP address of my MacBook on the local network, and that will bring up the UI. Now this does rely on the fact that my phone and my computer are on the same local area network. If you want to remotely access this dashboard interface with your phone over an internet connection, then you're going to need to set up port forwarding. You're probably going to want to set up some DNS and more stuff that's not really relevant to what we're really talking about here. But let's just go into the phone here and check it out. So we'll go ahead and open up our phone here. Mine happens to be an iPhone. I'm sure you can do something very similar on Android. I happen to have an iPhone. So what we need to do here is we need to open up Safari, and we would just enter the IP address of our MacBook, or the computer that's running Node-RED, whether that's a Windows computer or a Linux computer or a Mac, whatever. Just enter in the IP address of the computer, :1880, which is Node-RED's default listening port, and /UI. That's all you need to enter. You don't need to enter all this other stuff. Just /UI and hit go. And that's going to load up the UI that we just built in Node-RED. And we can click the switches here right on our phone and see everything work. We can hit the button on the controller and we'll see the notification and the text changed. We release it, we see the text on our input and our notification. So everything works perfect. So one thing that I like to do whenever I've got a UI like this set up is I like to put this on the home screen so I can access it quickly and easily. So what you want to do is you want to click this little square that looks like an arrow is trying to get away from it. And we're going to scroll over here and find Add to Home Screen right there. We'll give it a name. We'll just call it Node-RED. Keep things simple. Hit Done. And now we've got it right here on our home screen. And we can just click that to open it. And there you go. You've got a really nice, professional-looking UI that took you maybe 5-10 minutes to put together if you're learning as you go. And it's really responsive, it's really easy to use, and can't say enough good things about it. So that's the UI on the iPhone. All right, so I think that pretty well covers this. If you have any questions on this, we'll be happy to help you. But this has been a fun little tutorial to put together. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure and check out all of our MCP23008 products on store.ncd.io. And have fun.